moment.
Back to live. Thank you.
Okay, so a little refresh of memory again. The Brownfields program for the Agency of Commerce was $11 million, 1 million of which was directed to the RPCs for assessment funding. So they have received that, and my understanding is that it's a pretty robust take-up. I don't have numbers on that today, but on these reports are the amount of applications we've received. In total, we've received 14 applications. This is for cleanup. We focused our funding on the cleanup piece. So just again, refresh of memory, somebody wants to redevelop a property, they have to be enrolled in this limited liability program called BRELA. In part of that is that they get the property assessed. What are the contaminants? What are the issues? And then for whatever redevelopment plan they want to do, that overlay of the redevelopment determines the type of cleanup that has to happen, and it gets all quantified in a corrective action plan. We focused our money on the people who have an approved corrective action plan, and that plan is approved by ANR. So we are very much a team with ANR on this, as we need to be. They keep track of all the sites, they regulate the sites. And so what we developed was an application system. We made it known that people who could apply to us are people who have an approved corrective action plan. So far, 14 submitted applications, 11 have been approved. The total amount was requested was 4.94. The total amount of award was 3 million. So far 3 million. And this is the distribution by county in terms of applications, in terms of the amount requested, and the recommended award amounts.
So Commissioner, you had $11 million for this thing, and I think ANR had.
Yeah, ANR has, I think in total, there's $25 million committed to this program. And ANR should probably come in to talk about their piece, but I know that they are funding projects, and I believe the account is several million has been expended on their side as well.
So you're spending money of your $11 million on redevelopment of these sites. Their money is more the upfront money to assess and develop the program for redevelopment.
They have a combination of uses, and again, they should probably speak more to it, but I think what we focused on is making sure we gave preference to economic development and housing. So we were like, look, let's focus our redevelopment and on housing and economic development. So is there going to be a job creation entity on top of it? What is this cleanup going to do? ANR has a little bit different stance, and part of it, their rationale is about cleaning up really dirty properties, irrespective of the redevelopment. Let's say that happens on top, but I know that they have got some very large programs, very large projects that have been, kind of inactive for a long time because they required so much more cleanup than is normally possible with the EPA funds. So they could talk about those. I think there were two projects that were funded already.
So let me be a simpleton here, just so I understand it. A backhoe goes into a cleanup site, and it's cleaning it up so that you could then build housing. Who's paying for the backhoe to get rid of the contaminants?
Yeah,
maybe I should chime in there.
Yeah,
so
go ahead, you can chime in.
Three pieces, and as John said, $1 million of the amount that was appropriated to us has gone to the
Brett, I think you're going in and out. We can't hear you.
Can you start again, Brett?
Yeah. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of progression, Commissioner Goldstein mentioned that $1 million of the appropriation that had come to us actually has gone on to the regional planning commissions. And they're using that money principally to help people who have brownfield sites or are interested in brownfield sites to assess the the nature of the cleanup on those sites. And so once they're able to do that kind of assessment, that would be somebody who then would likely come to us and say, okay, we've done a phase 1 assessment. We have a feel for what the nature of the cleanup is here. And we've also been able to do what's called a corrective action plan in working with A&R. And then once they've got those 2 documentation pieces done, they'd be eligible to come to us for an award for money to actually affect the cleanup. And principally, my understanding from A&R is the money that they have received is targeted at a fairly small number of very large projects that we work with them on in a program that's referred to BERA. And these are large priority programs that have been targeted for years in some cases.
Jones and Lamson is a great example.
Yeah, Jones and Lamson is a great example. So they're kind of 3 levels. There's the money and there's a parallel track. There's money that the state has provided that's also working in concert with money that we normally get annually from EPA. But so it's kind of 3 pieces. It's doing assessments, getting somebody to the point where they're ready to put the shovel in the ground. Our money's principally focused on helping people when they've gotten to that point to actually do the cleanup. And then there's another level of projects that are have been identified for a long time. They're very large, take millions of dollars to clean up, that are, take a long time to do.
Is any of the money going to build the housing or just clean up the ground under a project that's envisioned for housing?
Yeah, it's only for cleanup. We're not doing the development. So let me give an example. There's an entity that wants to redevelop and expand a vacant, blighted property, right? And the anticipated build out would be first floor shared office space, new affordable housing units, and a community park. So those are all great efforts, but they have to clean up the contamination before they could build. So they applied to our program, they're approved, and like the award amount would be $142,000. That's not the redevelopment of the site, it's to clean it so that there are no more hazards to human health or the environment.
Okay.
But it's probably also important to mention that there are a handful of projects that have come to us for brownfield cleanup money.
Brett,
Brett, you're going out.
Yeah, I don't know what the problem is. Can you hear me now?
yeah, the closer you are to your microphone, it clearly is.
Maybe it's disconnected my headset. So there are a handful of projects that have applied both for our brownfield cleanup money and also have approached us for capital investment.
Yeah, that makes sense, because if one's cleaned up and redeveloped, they could be transformational.
Right.
That's
So
right.
I'm gonna try and ask the question a little differently, and then I'm gonna give up for now. So if you do the cleanup and the RPCs do the assessment and the planning, what does the $14 million at A&R do?
Yeah, they're also doing cleanup. They have a variety, but they've, on their money, they are working on projects like Jones and Lamson as an example. Like, I forgot what the price tag on that was, but it was in the millions just to get that, going. And I think demoed, I think that's already, part of it's already happening. So they have portioned their money for that, for those large projects. Another one is the Fonda plant, I think, up in St. Albans. So that's how we divided it. We were like, all right, let us put this out to the marketplace so that we have broad distribution. They already had projects lined up that they knew needed funding. And so they are going to go forward on those. But
That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't think I was ever clear on why the distribution.
why it was separate. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, having said that, even though it's separate, A&R is part of the whole selection committee. So we created a selection committee. A&R is on it, Agency of Commerce, RPC, and an RDC. So that we have, broad. Yeah.
Senator Clarkson.
Yeah, I think the question you asked, Michael, is great because it's clearly we need to understand it in terms of there are 3 steps, as Brett says: assessment, cleanup, redevelopment. And what's exciting about the transformational money that we have now is that we can both spend the money to get it assessed, have the money to actually do the cleanup, and help support and partner on the transformation. So it's, for me, this is really an exciting moment when we talk about once in a lifetime investment opportunity. This is a great example of needs around the state that we could actually get over the hump of just their being there for 20 years, not
Yeah.
doing anything for our communities, these dead areas.
And they take such a long time to get through the process. Like, it's a really lengthy process. You need people who are patient, who are totally community development oriented, and this will help bring those to fruition. And we focused our money on those where they already have the approved cap. They could, as soon as this gets cleaned up, they could start the project so that we could see results in a more quick fashion.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, let's,
I should just probably, I was going to say, just to add, because, we're in the brownfields thing day in and day out. It's maybe not obvious that most of these brownfields are in downtowns. And so when we're providing this money, it's a way to clean up a contaminated site in a downtown, do redevelopment in that downtown smart growth area. So there's a lot of coincident benefits.
how many large brownfield sites do we have in the state?
Well, there are, I think, 4 still in what I referred to earlier as the FARA program, which is a program that includes ourselves, ANR, and AOT, where those sites are periodically evaluated and added to that program. And we've successfully cleaned up, I don't know, 2 come to mind over the last couple of years. The one that comes immediately to mind is the former Richmond Creamery site, which is right on the edge of the downtown in Richmond. It was a mess. Lots of asbestos, lots of other contaminants. The building was demolished and new buildings have been built.
So I may have missed it because you went in and out. Do we have a handful of big sites? Like, I assume Pine Street might be one of them.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I think there are
Yes.
still 4 on that list of FARA sites.
And where are they?
That's not exclusive. Those are just ones that have been entered into the program so far. But 453 Pine is one that we've spent hours and hours and hours working with ANR to try to get redeveloped.
And prospective developers.
And what are the other 3? Do you remember?
Well, Joan mentioned Fonda, which is the former Dixie Cup plant up in St. Albans. Again, there's been a lot of work done, a lot of preliminary cleanup, and we spent a lot of time working with potential redevelopment options and developers. That one, I'm guessing, will eventually go forward. So let's see. And then there's the rail yard area in Burlington downtown.
Right.
There's the hope to have the street that would bisect that railroad area eventually.
And the 4th is Jones and Lamson?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any more that you want to talk about in terms of brownfields? That's helpful.
No, if there's any other questions on brownfields that,
No, let's move on.
and I guess the other project that we're working on is the establishment of Montreal, the Montreal Trade
Oh,
Office,
I
we'll
was
call it.
surprised to hear that in the governor's speech. Didn't know I was
Yeah,
gonna-
so we call it all different things, but it's basically, we did a request for proposal in October to hire somebody who would represent us in Canada. We got 3 viable candidates. We chose CIDEP, that's CIDEP, and it's a firm based in Montreal and Toronto. We chose them for their experience. They have a very good track record in generating leads. So they've identified, some companies that we need to contact, and they'll develop a digital and a mail campaign to raise awareness. We were about to make an official announcement by going there, but that has since been stopped because of all the COVID restrictions that are now back in place. There are many entities shut down because they're want to take the pressure off the healthcare system. So we're kind of in a little bit of a holding pattern, but we have them, and we're going to do as much as we can digitally, and and as soon as that's open. So for example, we normally do the Aeromart trade shows in the spring. So we're still planning that type of a thing, even if it has to be virtual, but we're going to depend on them for lead generation and identifying quality leads and continuing that work. We did do a press release here in November, but we want to do a little bit more press, and I think we're going to get some press in the Quebec News Les Affaires, if I'm saying that right, the largest business magazine there, announcing the Vermont Trade Office. So we are very keen to pursue that, and hopefully the virus will cooperate.
Senator Ram Hinsdale.
Yeah, can you just share the website? Because when I tried typing it in, it talks a lot about like side effects of COVID in Canada. So it's not an easy thing to just look at their website.
Sure, I'll have to get that to you in my list of things to get back to you. So,
Senator Clarkson.
Joan, would you just be kind enough to give us the acronym for the group we chose again? Is it CIDEP?
It's CIDEP. It's CIDEP.
Oh, good. I got
And
it
if
right.
yeah,
What does
yeah,
it
and
stand
it's
for?
not an acronym. It's actually, I don't think it's an acronym because that's the only way I see their name. Yeah, ever spelt. So, yeah.
Oh,
I
got
mean,
it. Okay. I heard SIDEP, so now it's really easy to find,
okay.
I think. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I just
great.
went on it and it looks like it is. So,
Good.
Can you, I like to bring us down to a base level here. Could you just go one more time as to what you expect this contract to produce? Is it just try to encourage companies to come and locate here, or just tell us? I know.
yeah, the predominant driver is really about foreign direct investment. So we know that Canadian companies do like to get a U.S. foothold, generally speaking, and specifically in Vermont, we've had examples where a Canadian company may want a U.S. foothold for defense contracting or aerospace aligned businesses, and so there's a question about how do we contact them? How do we know those who are interested in a U.S. foothold? And so we want this company to actually do that level of vetting and parsing so that we know who to contact and how to cultivate those relationships so that we are front of mind, that they know that Vermont is interested in those companies. These do not have to be large companies. We've had many experiences where businesses come to Vermont and they may have a 2 or 3 person office, and it could grow into something much, much grander. I mean, over the last couple of years, we got to know iSun, and iSun got purchased by another company, and before you know it, they're a larger entity, and that all started with a Montreal contact. So we want to do that in a much more proactive fashion rather than just reacting to queries that come in. And that's the reason for this this appropriation that you were able to get through for us. And it's a 2-year contract. So we expect to start getting regular reports from them on leads, connections, and project pipeline status going forward.
And how much do we appropriate?
I want to say it was $150,000. Do I have that right?
I thought it was 3. I thought we did it for longer period and more money.
I think it's 2 years. Is
Right.
it?
Brett, do you know?
Yeah, I think it's 300,000 over 3
No, I
years.
thought it was 300. Yeah.
All right, I'll check that, but yeah.
All right, we have a little bit more time if we need it. Is there other programs that you have on your list there? You've been pretty busy, Joan.
I think I covered them all. I mean, think about it. developed this since May. So, I mean, I think my team either hates me or just thinks I'm completely crazy, but we developed quite a lot over a very short period of time, and we still have a few more things to develop. I mentioned the T-bed. We're also working very closely with Vita on the SSBCI, and as soon as we get information, the Cannabis Control Board, we're going to be creating a business development fund, both grant and loan program. So we still have work cut out for us. And I look forward to it. It's been a very interesting 6 months, 7 months, or 2 years, any way you look at it. It's been very, very different jobs. So
The last thing you mentioned about cannabis, is that going to require any legislation that you're aware of?
yeah, there's a legislation, don't ask me the number, but there's a bill, there's a law that the Cannabis Control Board will determine the parameters for the program, but that ACCD will execute on this program. It's loan. We would do an RFP for a loan provider for businesses that want to start that were disproportionately impacted by the prohibition on the substance, and also a grant program. So we have yet to see what that looks like, and we need to develop that. So that's another thing on our to-do list.
That's not going to require any further legislation, right?
I don't think so, unless the CCB is coming in for something else, but I don't think so. Yeah,
Because I just want to, if we're going to do this economic development package, I want to
oh,
throw everything in the kitchen sink to start with and then start. doing-
right. I
Yeah.
think it was seeded with money last year. So I think there was a startup fund, and then it was going to get funded by their licensing fees going forward. But yeah, I'm showing how I don't know as much about it because we have not been able to start any implementation on that just yet. So
Good. All right. Well, thank you all very much. Jessica, it was nice to meet you. Do you have any, do we go astray legally anywhere?
Nice to meet you as well. No, I don't think so at this time.
Okay.
We've been very busy.
Jessica has been instrumental in deciphering what we need to do on SSBCI and on many other things. So we really invaluable resource that has joined our group, and I don't know how we did without her almost.
It's only been 2 months, so it feels like it's been 2 years, but really it's only been 2 months.
Well, welcome. Hope we see
Thank
you.
you.
again. Okay, so thank you, everybody. Allison and Scott and I will adjourn to another meeting, and
Okay.
we'll
Well,
see you all tomorrow. Are we at 9 tomorrow, right?
Yeah. But I believe we're sticking on this call, on this Zoom meeting, right, Scott?
I don't know.
All right, bye-bye.
Goodbye. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
It's
Thank you
entirely
for all
up to
the
you
work.
guys. For our daily meeting, we have another Zoom link that we can go to.
Okay, I think we have that on. Let's go to that other link because I'm going to take a little break, okay? I'll meet you there in about 3 minutes. Is that okay?
Okay, we need to go off live. Great, thanks.
Bye-bye,
Yep.
everybody.